Welcome to Low Code Feature Focus. Today we're talking about item data sources. Item data sources are a feature that's used within action form for multiple choice fields. So we'll start by adding an action form to our page. And we're going to configure it as a blank form. We'll give it a name and begin adding fields. The field we're going to add is a multiple choice with Dropdown. And for our first example, we'll look at the standard items data source. This is configured with first item, second item. And so if we save and go back to look at the form, we can see our two choices, first item, second item. Before we start to explore the different kinds of item sources that are standard within the product, let's take a look at some of the features of multiple choice fields. I'm going to provide a link to this documentation within the comments of this YouTube article. What I wanted to call your attention to is that every item data source do share one thing in common. The data source will contain a text and a value, and there's a useful feature on the back end. The text and value can be addressed using the field name text and the field name value. So let's take a look at what that does by displaying the values from our multiple choice with Dropdown. To do that, I'm going to configure our screen. I'm going to open up the management screen and add a button that will display the values. First, I'm going to name this standard item, and I'm going to add a button to display standard item. I'm just going to leave it called submit, and in the actions, I'm going to do an error message. And the error message, I'm just going to append all fields. So the standard item is going to be displayed. And so let's take a look at what that does for us. If we refresh the screen, choose the first item and hit submit, the error message that we see below says standard item is first item. If I change the value to second item, standard item has with different value. So let's explore that. The standard item was set up with an item list where there was a first item and a second item, and the pipe character gives it a different value. So this is, let's call it item 2 with different value. So there's a public value, what they see on the front, that's the text, first item, second item, and then there's the value, item 1 with different value, item 2 with different value. We refresh the screen and select again, first item, and we see now that item 1 has a different value, item 1 with different value. The benefit of this is that the value that the user sees can be different from the value that your code gets. This becomes important because some of the other item data sources will provide alternate values automatically. Going back to the fact that we can use the field name value and field name text as display values. So let's take a look at how we displayed the message. We displayed an error message that contained the value of standard item. I'm going to change this to display both the text and the value as separate items. So I'm going to copy that, and instead of displaying the text, and we'll also display the value. We're going to separate those by slashes just to visually separate it. So now when I submit, I see the standard item, it has the text value, first item, which is what we selected, and the value has item 1 with a different value. So when you use in code the values displayed here, if you just use standard item, you're going to get the default value, which is the standard item value. But you can explicitly say that you want the standard item text. So if you want to use what the user sees, you can get that. If you want to use what the behind the scenes value of the item, you can use the value construct. Let's expand a little bit, and instead of using just a standard item where we use item source of items, let's instead use some of the other choices that are available. So I'm going to add a field. It's going to be a multiple choice with Dropdown. And this time, instead of choosing items, I'm going to choose one of the things from our list of items that are available. In this case, I'm going to say DNN users. So this will generate a list of users that belong to selected roles, and I'm going to choose that I want all of the registered users for my website. I'm going to change the name of this to DNN users. And I'm going to use this ID in the same display. So I'm going to submit my submit button, and in the display of the error message, I'm going to say the DNN users, and I'm going to display both the DNN users text and the DNN users value. So we'll refresh and see what we get. Now we have a DNN users, and we have 3 different users on the system. I'm just going to pick one and submit. And the public value is Dale Warner. The behind the scenes value is 2. So that's a handy way of displaying DNN users. Let's see what else we can do. I'm just going to copy the same one, and we will change, instead of doing DNN users, we'll pick folders. Now folders is, this will be a portal folder list, and I'm going to call it folders. And when we save that and see what we get a selection of the folders that are available on our system. Now, I forgot to add that to my output, so I'm going to go to the submit, display error message, and add folders text, and the folders value. So when we submit, we see folders and we see AXML. So in this case, the value is the same for both. I had a typographical error in that one. So let's clean that up. I had a double bracket there. When we save it now and choose the submit button, we can see that there's AXML is the same for the front and the back. If I choose images and submit, then we see images. So the text and the value for this particular one are the same. Let's try another one. Instead of the portal folder list, we will choose PortalFiles. So this is going to be the files. And again, we'll want to add that to our output. So we can save and refresh. When we do that and click the drop down on files, we can see all the files that are in our file system. And so, for example, if I choose images checkbox and say submit, we can see the text and the value are the same. So this is a good opportunity to clean up and use a feature of multiple choice where we will link this to the folders, so that once a folder is selected, then the files will occur. And folder, instead of choosing a particular folder, we'll do an expression, and it's going to be the folders variable. So when a folder is selected here, this item, since it's linked to it, the folder is linked to it, this will repopulate and it'll use the folder that we've selected. So let's see what that looks like. We now refresh. And so when a folder is selected, we pick images. Notice that this loaded, and it loaded only the files that are in the images folder. If we pick AXML as the folder, there's a different set of files that are there. If we pick templates, there's a different set there as well. So I'm going to pick images and choose this unchecked square box. And when I submit, interestingly, we now see that images is selected as the folder, and checkbox unchecked, and the value and the text are the same. There's another one that's called tables. And so if we go and do tables as the data source, this is not going to be a link to, so we'll remove that and we'll change this to a DBTables type. And in the same way, we're going to continue to output this. So we'll go to our submit and output. Save that. Now when we refresh and look at the result, we see that tables has a list of all the tables that are on our system. And I'm just going to pick one. I'll pick anonymous users and submit. And we can see that the text and the value is the same, anonymous users. All right, let's do another one. Instead of tables, we will do the admin pages. This will give us a list of all of the administrative pages on our system. So we'll pick admin pages. And since that's the ID, admin pages, we'll also add that to our output. So let's refresh and try that one out. So there's 3 pages here. If I choose user accounts and submit, you'll see that the admin pages, the text is user account, but the value is 30. So this is a page ID. And so this control, the value that it provides is the page number. And that's useful if you need to do something by page number, or you can use the name file management. Great, let's do another one. This time we'll copy that, and instead of doing admin pages, let's do modules. This is going to give us a list of modules on our system. So we'll choose modules, and the ID is modules. And we will add that to our output display. So we're displaying the text and the value. So we'll save that and refresh. So we can see, for example, that the journal, and it has the name journal number 360, but when we submit, the text value is journal 360, the internal value is just 360. That's the value token. All right, let's do a couple more. Another data source is the email templates. So we can say email template. And that's going to be DNN email template source. And we also need to add it to the button. So we're displaying the email template text and value. So when we refresh this and look at the email template, we can see all the different templates that's there. If we choose banner notification and submit, we can see the external, the text is banner notification, but the value is email notification subject.text. Let's do one more. This time we'll display our portals. So portals, and we do an item type of portals. In our submit button, we add that as well. So portals text, portals value, save, and refresh. So we see 3 sites here. If we choose a site and hit submit, we see that the portals, it shows the name DRW962B, but it's portal 0. Site 2, if we submit that, is site 2, and it has the portal ID of 1. In this video, we've covered some of the standard item data sources, and we've talked about the text and the value parameters that you can use to display either the publicly visible value of the multiple choice or the behind the scenes value. There are other item data sources available, and it's possible to define custom item data sources for specific needs within your company. Is there some feature you'd like to see in our next video? Leave a comment in the section below. For more great low-code content, be sure to subscribe to Plant an App.